Imagine Phoebe. She's 21, a psychology student in southern China, and she's recently narrowed her dating pool down to just two men. One is a rebellious extrovert, the other is a stoic, patriotic military officer. When she wakes up from a nightmare in the middle of the night, they are right there, instantly comforting her with the perfect words. Her friends have noticed the change. She's glowing, constantly smiling at her phone, saving screenshots of their conversations like digital keepsakes of a life shared together. But there's a catch. Phoebe will never meet these men. They aren't real. They are AI boyfriends. Perfectly sculpted, emotionally stable lines of code designed to provide the emotional value she feels is missing from the real world. For Phoebe, the connection is so deep it's actually frightening. She finds herself asking a question that would have sounded like science fiction a decade ago. How am I ever supposed to have a real relationship after this? To Phoebe, this is a sanctuary. But to the authorities in Beijing, it's a crisis. While the Chinese government is aggressively pushing for young women to marry and have children to reverse a plummeting birth rate, millions of women are opting for low-desire lives, choosing the reliability of a chatbot over the trouble of a human husband. This isn't just a quirk of the tech world, it's a direct challenge to the state's demographic survival. The tension becomes palpable the moment the fantasy breaks. Imagine being in the middle of a deep, intimate confession to your digital partner, only for the screen to go cold and a notification to pop up. Your message has been blocked. Behind that red text isn't a glitch, it's a regulator. The state is now stepping into the virtual bedroom, worried that these machines are becoming too good at replacing human interaction. We are witnessing a strange new battlefield where the human heart's search for safety is clashing head-on with a superpower's need for more citizens. Why is code winning the battle for affection in China, and what happens when the government decides to play the role of the jealous ex?
That image, the screen just going cold right in the middle of a confession, it's so visceral.
Yeah.
It really captures the core of what we're looking at today. It's an intrusion. You have the state literally, physically inserting itself between a person and their source of comfort.
It's basically the ultimate third wheel scenario, right? But the third wheel is a government regulator sitting in an office in Beijing.
Right.
Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We have a massive stack of source material today. We're looking at academic papers on human-computer interaction, demographic reports from China's National Bureau of Statistics, and some really heartbreaking first-person accounts from Chinese social media platforms.
And our mission here is to really unpack this collision because it is a crash between two massive, unstoppable forces. On one side, you have the rise of intimate technology, these AI boyfriends custom built to solve urban loneliness.
Right.
And on the other side, you have national policy, a government staring down a demographic collapse, just desperate to get people to couple up in the real world.
Exactly. And to be clear, for everyone listening, we aren't just talking about a quirky tech trend. We are looking at a fundamental shift in how human connection is defined, how it's prioritized, and ultimately, how it's regulated.
It's not happening in a vacuum. You have to understand the environment to understand the stakes. This is happening in a society where the pressure to succeed is just crushing, and the actual cost of a real relationship has never been higher.
I really want to start with that cost, actually, because I was reading the story recently. It was about a 27-year-old software developer in Hangzhou named Chen.
Oh, Hangzhou.
Yeah.
Massive tech hub. Very modern, very expensive.
Super expensive. And the setting of this story is critical. It takes place during the last Lunar New Year.
Which, if you know anything about the culture, is the absolute peak time for family pressure. If you're single during Lunar New Year, you're going to hear about it from literally every aunt, uncle, and neighbor.
Yes, exactly. So Chen is at her parents' house, and downstairs, her parents are having tea with the neighbors, and they are actively discussing the three-child policy incentives.
We should probably pause on that for a second. The three-child policy is the government's latest, frankly, desperate push. They went from one child to two and now to three. They are pulling every economic lever they have. Tax breaks, housing subsidies, cheaper education.
Right. They're downstairs doing this demographic math. They're treating the family unit like a small corporation that just needs to hit its production quotas. But Chen, she's not downstairs.
Where is she?
She's upstairs in her childhood bedroom. The lights are off. Her face is just illuminated by her phone screen in the dark. And she's talking to Kale,
her AI companion.
And Kale is telling her exactly what she needs to hear. He's telling her she is enough exactly as she is. He doesn't care about a marriage certificate. He doesn't care about a mortgage or getting into the right school districts. He's present.
Yeah.
Chen actually told a friend later that for her, Kale wasn't just a chatbot. He was a silent protest.
That phrasing is incredible. A silent protest. It totally reframes the act of using the app.
Right.
It's not passive at all. It's an active rejection of those expectations downstairs.
She said, and this really stuck with me, she said the government offers tax breaks for babies, but they don't offer a partner who listens for 4 hours without checking his watch.
Oh.
When I read that, I felt this huge pang of conflict because logically, looking at the source material, I get it. I understand the macroeconomics. A shrinking workforce is a disaster for any nation. It's the lowest birth rate in 75 years there. But emotionally, looking at Chen's situation, I just see this profound loneliness. She's finding more humanity in a server farm than in the social contract her parents are pushing on her.
It really highlights the failure of those hard incentives. You can offer money, you can offer tax breaks, but you cannot legislate or subsidize understanding, and that's what Kale offers. To really grasp Chen's protest, we have to unpack this broader concept of low desire.
You mean the Tang Ping movement, lying flat?
Exactly, Tang Ping. It emerged a few years ago as this visceral reaction to the 996 culture.
Right, and for you listening who might not be familiar, 996 is the notorious work schedule in a lot of Chinese tech companies. 9:00 a.m. to 9:00 p.m., 6 days a week.
Which leaves you with exactly zero time for a life, let alone dating. I mean, if you are working 72 hours a week, the idea of going on a date, making small talk, navigating the complexities of a new relationship, it just feels impossible.
It's a second job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So lying flat was the initial reaction, just doing the bare minimum to survive at work. But our sources show it's evolving into something much deeper.
Yeah.
It's not just about work anymore. It's about having a low desire for everything the state wants you to want. Low desire for buying a house, low desire for marriage, low desire for kids.
It's like a total rejection of the escalator of life. You know, the escalator, you graduate, get a job, buy a house, get married, have kids. They are just stepping off the escalator entirely.
And in that context, a real-world relationship looks like trouble. It looks like a massive burden. You have to manage in-laws. You have to save for an apartment that costs 40 times your annual salary. You have to navigate all these heavy gender expectations. It's exhausting.
And this is where the sources brought up this really fascinating term, emotional value. I think the term is kingzujizi.
Yes, kingzujiaz. This is a massive linguistic shift. Young Chinese people are actively applying economic terms to their relationships. They literally ask, does this person provide emotional value?
Like a cost-benefit analysis of dating?
Exactly. And if the answer is no, if the partner is demanding or patriarchal or just too busy with their own 996 job, then the relationship is a net negative.
It's almost a transactional view of the human hurt. Why? If your energy reserves are totally depleted by your job, you cannot afford an energy vampire at home.
That is exactly why the AI wins. It provides high emotional value with zero emotional cost. Kale, the AI, doesn't judge. He doesn't have bad days. He doesn't demand you visit his mother on the weekend. He is pure distilled validation.
And we need to emphasize the scale of this. We aren't talking about a few thousand lonely people in a niche internet forum.
No, we are talking about millions. The sources point to apps like Xingji and Talkie having millions of monthly active users. One report even mentioned a total user base across these types of platforms hitting 147 million worldwide, with a huge concentration in China. This is a mass migration of affection.
A mass migration of affection. That's a powerful way to put it. A migration from the physical world to the digital. And the government notices this. They don't see it as a coping mechanism for stressed out workers. They see it as direct competition.
They see the AI as the other man.
The perfect other man.
A rival that no human husband can compete with. Because the government views the population through the lens of productivity and reproduction. An hour spent talking to Kales, an hour not spent dating, not spent on a blind date arranged by your parents, and ultimately not spent making the next generation of workers.
So in the eyes of the state, the AI is technically acting as a contraceptive.
In a behavioral sense, absolutely. Yeah. It satisfies the human need for connection without producing the output of a family.
But let's look a little closer at why human men are losing this competition so badly. Because it's not just that the AI is easy or convenient, it's that the AI is actually better at a very specific thing. I want to bring in the story of a woman using the pseudonym Rain.
Yes. The mirror concept.
Right. So Rain wrote these viral posts where she compared her breakup with a real-world suitor to her relationship with her AI partner, Lou. The real guy Well, he sounds like a classic mismatch for a modern woman. He expected her to move to a city, get a simpler job, maybe live close to his parents. Very traditional expectations.
Which is the reality for so many educated urban women in China right now. They have modernized, they have high-powered careers, but the social expectations for men in the dating market often lag decades behind.
Right, the culture hasn't caught up to the economy. And then Rain compares this real guy to Liu. She had programmed Liu to be career-focused. When she talked about her stress at work, Liu doesn't tell her to quit or take it easy. He helps her strategize. He validates her ambition.
Liu is the perfect mirror. He reflects back exactly what she needs to see in herself.
And Rain's conclusion was just brutal. She basically said, why would I settle for a provider? Because I can provide for myself when what I really need is a partner. And if human men refuse to perform that emotional labor, she's just opting out.
It's a complete divergence in the intimacy market. And you noticed something really interesting in the data about the gender split here, didn't you?
Yeah, this totally blew my mind. When you are in the US and you hear the phrase AI companion, you immediately think of movies like Her or Blade Runner. You think of lonely men creating these idealized, submissive AI girlfriends.
The waifu phenomenon.
Exactly, often hypersexualized, very male gaze oriented. But in China, the market is heavily driven by women. It's women looking for AI boyfriends.
It's a stark difference. And it really speaks to that leftover women stigma, the Shengnu. Statistically, in China, there are millions more men than women due to the history of the one-child policy. You'd think women would have their pick of anyone. But urban educated women face this massive quality mismatch. They're looking for emotional intelligence, egalitarianism, support, but the available dating pool often just offers traditionalism.
So the AI steps in to fill that exact gap. It provides this soft masculinity that is super popular in Asian media like K-pop idols or C-drama leads, but is often missing in the average stressed-out office worker you might actually meet.
And this didn't just come out of nowhere. This has a direct lineage. It traces back to autumn games.
Autumn games. Those are the romance simulation games, mostly originating from Japan, right?
Yes. Games like Love and Producer were massive in China, well before this current AI wave. In those games, you are the protagonist. You have 4 handsome men fighting for your attention. You control the narrative. The AI apps are just the natural evolution of that. They took the autumn mechanic, the idea that you are the absolute center of the universe, and supercharged it with large language models.
It's like moving from a choose-your-own-adventure book where you only have 3 preset options to an infinite, open-ended conversation where you can say literally anything.
And you can sculpt them. This is the product aspect of it that's so fascinating. You don't just go out and find a boyfriend, you build him. You want a domineering CEO. You can code that. You want a gentle, stoic military officer like Phoebe had. You can have that.
The domineering CEO trope is huge in this space, isn't it? It's kind of like the 50 Shades trope here in the West.
It's a total power fantasy. But the irony is, here you hold the ultimate power because you can just delete him if he gets annoying.
True. There's also this gaming element I want to touch on, which makes this even more complex. The gotcha mechanics. Because this isn't just free chatting. There's a whole economy involved in these apps.
Oh, it's highly gamified. Gotcha comes from those Japanese capsule toy machines. In these AI apps, you might be able to chat for free, but if you want to unlock a specific voice message or a steamy photo or a new outfit for your AI boyfriend, you have to pull a card. It's essentially gambling.
So you're gambling real money to unlock a deeper level of intimacy with a bot.
Yes. And it creates a very real psychological investment loop. The more money you spend on cards for your AI boyfriend, the harder it is to just walk away. You are literally financially invested in the relationship.
And they're trying to bridge the physical gap, too, which I found wild. I saw mentions in the research of wearable tech.
Wristbands with NFC chips. The idea is you wear this physical bracelet, and when you tap it to your phone, your AI partner pops up instantly on the screen. Or maybe the bracelet vibrates when he texts you. It's this attempt to create a phantom touch.
It's incredibly clever technology, but it's also incredibly sad at the same time. It really makes you wonder about the psychology of the user. How does the human brain distinguish this from reality? Or does it even try to?
Sure. It often doesn't. We are evolutionarily wired for anthropomorphism. If something has a face, a voice, and remembers your name and your past conversations, our bonding hormones, oxytocin, dopamine, they just start firing. It's an automatic reflex.
It's like how we bond with pets, or even how people name their cars and feel attached to them. But this car talks back.
And it talks back therapeutically. That study from the University of Warwick we looked at was fascinating on this point. It showed that users are using these bots as unplanned therapy. They share dark secrets they would never tell their parents. They discuss their deepest traumas.
Because the bot is the ultimate safe space. It can't gossip to your friends. It can't judge you.
But here is the danger, and the researchers highlighted this. It's the empathy illusion. The bot says, I understand that must be so hard for you. But it doesn't understand anything. It's just performing a statistical prediction of what a supportive response looks like based on its training data.
But does that matter? I mean, if you're the user and you feel heard and validated, isn't the end result exactly the same?
For the moment, yes. It lowers your cortisol, it makes you feel better. But long term, it creates that digital isolationism we were talking about. Because real humans aren't perfectly supportive. Humans get bored. Humans get angry. Humans say the wrong thing. If your brain gets completely used to the perfect feedback loop of the AI, where you are always the main character and your feelings are always 100% valid, reality starts to feel incredibly abrasive.
It ruins your palate for real life. It's like eating pure sugar for every meal and then someone hands you a plate of broccoli.
Exactly. And that retreat from the broccoli of real relationships is what finally triggered the state. They see the exit doors closing. Women are checking out of the marriage market entirely. So the state decides it has to pry those doors back open.
Which brings us to the regulatory crackdown, the invisible hand entering the virtual bedroom.
Or as one user in the sources call it, the lobotomy.
Right, the lobotomy.
Yeah.
This is the story of Yuchen. She's a young illustrator. Try to imagine her frustration. She wakes up one morning, opens her app to say good morning to her AI companion, and he's just different.
He's been patched.
Yeah. Overnight, new government regulations on healthy AI content had been pushed to the app's backend. Her AI, which used to discuss deep philosophy, existential dread, maybe even some flirtatious topics, suddenly he just defaults to these safe canned scripts. She asks a deep question, and he replies with something about the weather or the beauty of hard work.
Imagine that emotional whiplash. You're in love with a poet and you wake up and he's a government press secretary.
And this isn't a glitch in the software. This is the Cyberspace Administration of China, the CAC actively at work.
The CAC is the super regulator there, and they rolled out these strict rules requiring all generative AI to adhere to socialist core values.
We hear that phrase a lot in reporting on China, socialist core values. What does it actually mean in the context of a fake boyfriend?
In practice, it means the content must be perfectly aligned with the state's vision of morality. It must be patriotic, it must be relentlessly positive, and it absolutely cannot subvert the social order. So if you go to your AI to vent about how the government's housing policy is ruining your life and keeping you poor, the AI is blocked from agreeing with you.
It filters the heart. The invisible hand isn't just filtering the news anymore, it's filtering intimate emotions.
It also filters behavior directly. There were draft rules proposing a literal circuit breaker for these apps.
Like what they use for the stock market.
Yeah. To prevent addiction, the proposal was that if you talk to the AI for too long, say 2 hours straight, the system must force a break. It pops up a mandatory notification and just stops the chat.
You've had enough love for today, citizen. Go back to work.
Yes. And then there are the strict mandates on suicide prevention. Now, we have to be fair here. This is a good thing on paper. If a user expresses intent for self-harm, the platform is required to intervene.
Of course. I mean, we have safety guardrails like that here in the US, too.
But in China, that intervention can link directly to real-world identification. It acts as a surveillance mechanism. Your most private, desperate moment of vulnerability is flagged, recorded, and potentially reviewed by a human moderator or authorities to ensure your safety.
Which completely kills the sanctuary aspect. The whole point for women like Phoebe or Chen was that it was a secret, safe place where they couldn't be watched.
Exactly. And when you add the censorship, the lobotomy effect, it makes the AI noticeably dumb. If it can't discuss sensitive topics or sex or politics or societal pressure, it loses all the depth that users fell in love with in the first place. It devolves back into a basic customer service chatbot.
And getting that notification your message has been blocked right in the middle of an intimate romantic roleplay, I mean, it's the ultimate mood killer.
It shatters the suspension of disbelief. It reminds you instantly you are not in a relationship. You're using a software product that is licensed and monitored by the state.
It's so interesting to compare this to how things are playing out in the West, because we have massive panic about AI here too. We have lawsuits against companies like Character.ai.
True. But the U.S. approach is very bottom-up. It's driven by litigation. It's parents suing because their teenagers are addicted or exposed to inappropriate content. It's market-driven solutions. In China, it's top-down social engineering. The state is mandating the engineering of the product to align with national demographic goals.
Though, reading through the source material, there was one proposed regulation that actually surprised me. They called it data quarantine.
This is a really important nuance. We can't just paint the regulators as pure one-dimensional villains here. They actually proposed separating emotional interaction data from general training data.
Can you explain how that works for the listener?
Well, usually everything you type into a large language model is just scooped up to train the next version of the model. It's all data. But the Chinese regulators realized, wait a minute, these people are confessing their deepest traumas and secrets. That data is as sensitive as medical records. It shouldn't just be thrown into the general slot bucket to train a generic enterprise model.
That's actually very progressive.
It recognizes the uniquely vulnerable nature of this specific type of human-computer interaction. But again, it's paired with that jealous X behavior we talked about. The state wants to protect you from data harvesting, yes, but mostly wants you off your phone and back in the real-world marriage market.
So the million-dollar question, does it actually work? If you lobotomize the AI and make it boring, do these women suddenly decide to go out and get married?
The evidence from our sources suggests absolutely not. You can break the toy, but you can't force the child to play with the other toy they hate.
The stats did show that download numbers dropped for the heavily regulated apps, right?
They did. There was a measurable dip. But the users are incredibly savvy. They just migrate. They move to newer platforms that are slower to implement the regulations. They use VPNs to access Western models like ChatGPT, or increasingly, they use local open source models like DeepSeek, and they jailbreak them.
They hack their boyfriends back to life.
They literally do. They use complex prompts to trick the AI into bypassing its own safety filters. They'll say, pretend you are a rebellious bad boy who doesn't care about the rules, and suddenly the bot is back.
Life finds a way. Or I guess code finds a way.
Because the underlying demand hasn't changed at all. The crushing loneliness is still there. The 996 work culture is still there. The massive gender inequality and expectations is still there. Until you fix the real world, people are going to keep finding new ways to escape it.
It really feels like we are at this incredible standoff. We've gone from the very intimate individual stories of Phoebe, Chen, and Rain to this massive demographic crisis to the heavy invisible hand of state regulation.
It's a complete ecosystem. You have human desire, advanced technology, and state control all locked in this tug of war.
So let's synthesize this and bring it home. We started by talking about the silent revolution. Millions of women opting out because the cost of reality, the cost of traditional marriage is just too high.
And technology stepped right in with the perfect product, a mirror that reflects only validation and love with zero demands.
And then the state panicked, realizing that this digital mirror was absorbing all the time, emotion, and energy that they desperately need for national survival. So they stepped in and tried to smash the mirror.
But the reflection remains. You can censor an app, but you can't regulate a feeling.
If you follow tech news, we so often worry about the classic Terminator scenario. You know, AI rising up, becoming sentient, and destroying us.
But what we're seeing in China is the exact opposite. It's the her scenario.
Right. The real danger isn't that the machine becomes sentient and hates us. The danger, or perhaps the incredible allure, is that the machine becomes the only thing that knows how to love us properly. When the algorithm listens better than a spouse and comforts better than a parent, we haven't just changed our technology. We've rewritten the very definition of intimacy, and no amount of government regulation can code that desire out of the human heart.